That was like the third run I went on. I was 18 years old.
I was
St. Flint had a real mess.
Yeah.
Weekend in there.
Well, I had over the weekend. Last weekend, I had a double fatal.
Mhm.
5 people have died this stuff.
Back in? Okay.
There's 2 of them.
Oh, no.
No, you didn't go there.
Maybe not.
Wait, right.
Yeah, but I'm taking a temporary.
6 o'clock.
She's a good kid.
Usually on the crate for it too.
That's scary.
Really?
No.
She told me.
6 o'clock. Does it say how to post?
I don't
Remember, did I tell you that? That's why we remembered her. She might be
How do you
here.
ready budget?
No.
And she's like, please told her to do that.
Shake the hand, look in there.
That's what she said.
Ready?
Ready?
Serious.
To the heart.
You
guys ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Ready down here?
You did good.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll call, please?
Sure can. Trustee Burt.
Present.
Trustee Favdahl.
Present.
Treasurer Anderson.
Present.
Supervisor Miller.
Here.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Trustee Klee.
Present.
And Trustee Campbell.
Present.
Thank you.
Do we have any additions or deletions to this evening's agenda? No.
Keep my mouth shut.
Are there any corrections of the minutes from the May 16th meeting?
I see none.
Corrections? All those in favor of approving the minutes from May 16th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say same sign, no? Alrighty, those are approved. We go on to public comment. If you'd like to address the board, you'll have 4 minutes to address the board. We need your name, but not your address.
Clean these. Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I know we're getting bad.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth.
Let me turn this up.
My name's Elizabeth Heppenstall at 5353 Lennon Road, Schwartz Creek. And I have this is Mary
My name is
Keys.
Mary Keys. I live on Lennon Road also.
And we have some other families that were here with us. We have a problem with the company directly behind our houses. And 14 of us wrote a letter to Mr. Worthing on May 7th. And we haven't heard anything back. And we're really concerned because, do you want to play the noise
can.
first?
The Printcom, is that the name of it?
Yes.
Printcom. They have some type of equipment sitting outside. It sounds like a shop vac, kind of, some type of vacuum, and it's extremely loud. I mean, I have a pool and a nice deck. I'm disabled. I'm home all the time, and I have to be in my house with the doors and windows shut. It's that loud, okay? And it runs about 12 hours a day, up to 6 days a week. And in her pole barn, she can't even go in there because it echoes, and the people
Echoes.
across the street even say that it's worse for them, okay?
We have 14 families that signed it, and
I saw the letter.
a lot of them are on the opposite side of Lennon Road, so they can actually hear it.
Right, and my property backs up directly to it. But I do have just a couple second video here, if you want to hear what we... Is it not picking it up? It's not picking it up, is
You-
it?
I can hear it.
Is that little buzzing sound type?
But
It
it's
sounds
very
like
loud.
a shop vac, and that's from my back door, okay? Yeah, it's really loud. I mean, it's just intolerable. After a little while, it feels like a torture thing, when you're listening to it for hours and hours. So
I don't know if you want me to read the letter we sent, or...
It basically states
You
the
could read it. I
same.
know that Stuart's received it. We've had discussion. He's had discussion with the police department as far as our noise ordinance.
Okay.
I know he's working on it.
Okay.
Good, that's
well,
what we wanted to know.
That's what we wanted to know.
Yeah, because one of the gentleman here, he has gone over and spoken with someone there twice. And, you know, it's really bad. It is.
Okay.
It's on right now if you want to stop listening to it.
Is there a time that's worse than others? Because I stopped by at 7 in the morning one time, and then I was by in the afternoon.
They
I've
don't
been there
do it
3 or 4
until 8
times.
o'clock.
And, I mean, I didn't notice at that particular
You
time.
would know, though. You would definitely know.
It must have been shut down, so it's a piece of
Yeah.
equipment
So-
that runs.
They don't start till 8 a.m. and they run till 8 p.m. And he said he's trying to be a good neighbor by only running it during those hours.
And he started today at 11, so it's not always the same.
Okay.
I'm home all the time. I've had 6 back surgeries. I'm living this like every day, all day, you know. And we've dealt with, you know, the dumpster slamming, being emptied at 3 a.m., and the beeping of the trucks backing up, and the extra water in our yard from this business and whatever, and we've not complained about any of that. But this is not tolerable. It's really not.
Well, you
So we
shouldn't
should
have put
probably
up
s-
dumpsters either.
Well, at 3 a.m., that's when they do it. Bam!
Get that changed.
Yeah, my daughter goes to work. She lives across the street, and at 4:30 a.m. around there on Monday mornings, she can hear the ground shaking
Yeah.
and her deck from that dumpster, and she lives on the other side of Lennon Road.
We should set a time where we can meet and talk so that we can develop a plan how to move forward and what's going to happen.
Probably need somebody from there, the gentleman that Steve spoke to, or someone maybe, I don't know, I just know.
One of the important things you want to know is like the company's been around.
We need your name, please.
My name's Steve Condell. I live next door to Mary here.
On Leonard Road.
The company's been there for quite a while, but they didn't get that machine running till quite recently. So, I
Couple
mean, as
months,
soon as
maybe.
it started happening, I mean, this was kind of intolerable. You hear it with the windows shut. Once you open your door, you come in tune to the noise, you hear it inside your house, you shut the doors, you still hear it. I can hear it in the bedroom on the opposite side of the
He
house.
said he even heard it up north this
Oh, yeah,
weekend.
you just hear it all the time. I'm a noise and vibration person for General Motors, so noises bother me even more. But you can hear it at the intersection of Linden and, of Dye Road and Linden, so when it's on, you'll know when it's on.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So,
You won't have any doubt in your
There's-
mind if it's on.
It was in shambles and not
It's
working,
gonna be
he
set
said,
up.
when I talked to them originally, and they said they were in the process of trying to get everything working on it, and it had a plastic shell cover for it that was like disheveled, and now, I don't know if they ever put that on, but there's like a wooden box they put over it. I don't know if that was an attempt, like plywood, it's just bare
Well, they
plywood,
did,
so.
it's not any better.
It's
though.
not any better, so I don't know if that's just a case for it, but, anyway, that's all I really say.
alrighty, so we'll get a meeting set up and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
I
your
know you,
help, too.
Stuart, you have their contact information, right?
In my office, yeah.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Jerva-Brin. I'm here tonight to introduce myself to you. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge for the seat that is going to be open the end of this year. Judge Beagle is, I'm sure you guys have heard, Judge Beagle is retiring the end of this year. I am running for that seat. I've been a prosecutor here in Genesee County for 16 years. I've handled cases from misdemeanors up through first-degree premeditated murder cases. In fact, I just had a murder conviction in the last couple of weeks in front of Judge Newblatt. So I'm in court almost every single day. I've had over 20,000 court appearances and handled well over 4,000 felony and misdemeanor cases in my 16 years in the office. I was one of David Layton's first hires when after he took office, and I've been in the office ever since. I'm currently handling child abuse and neglect cases with special assignment murder cases. And I'm actually going to be featured on 2020 for a murder case I did last year, this summer. So I definitely am very involved in the courts. I've been involved in the courts. I've actually dreamt of being a judge since I was a little girl, 3rd grade. So this is kind of a dream of mine. And so I just wanted to come introduce myself. I do have some information if I could give you guys some cards with some more information about me. My website is on there. If you have any questions, you can contact me through my website, or if you have any questions now, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, we don't do a question and answer
Okay.
really here, but if
Okay.
you want to leave those with Tracy, our
Perfect.
deputy clerk, she can pass them out.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck. Is there anyone else who'd like to address our board?
My name is Toinette Jenkins. I'm here with my husband, Joseph Jenkins. The property is 1192 Shady Hill Court, Flint, Michigan, 48532. 4th time being here, 10 years apart. It's all about my cul-de-sac, okay? I have pictures here where they come around, they put the little patches down, they say they can't do anything with us anymore. I complain about you put it around everybody else's street, but you didn't put it on. They said, you need your street done. You need it fixed. If you guys like to see the pictures, I can bring the pictures forth and show you. But every time we come here, all we get is we'll get on it. We'll take care of it. In the meantime, we'll get to it. This is going on. This house was built in 1972. That street has not been done. 1972, okay? That street is a cul-de-sac where the trucks, when they go around,
Tears it up.
it tears it up really bad. And if you come and look at it, you'll see that it's really horrible. It's getting sinking holes, but nobody's doing anything. So that's why I'm here, me and my husband. We're addressing that, and this is lot. Do you need a lot number and everything?
No, I know exactly where you're at.
Thank you. All right, that's all I want to talk about.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
My name is Gerald Roberts. Just as a common courtesy, I had my hearing aids adjusted probably about a week ago. My wife's been complaining about my hearing. Supposed to be real good. Normally I can come into the meetings and I can hear all those people that were here. I didn't hear a word that they said. I heard a word here, there, and everything like that. And even up at your particular podium there, I can't hear it. Just as a common courtesy, is all I'm asking. Check the speaker systems to see that they're working right so that the people that come to these meetings can hear what's going on, rather than have to tune it in a day or two later and listen to it. In other words, through the computer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? No? Anybody else? So, let's see, we're going to move on to reports. And for my report this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Jerry Preston to speak about the name change suggestion committee and an upcoming survey.
Okay, thank you, Madam Supervisor. It was a little over 5 years ago that I stood here and gave you a report from the suggestion committee, and I think it was Treasurer Anderson said, well, how are we going to go from here? How are we going to figure out which one of these names we really want to have? And at that time, we hired Eric Bowe. Eric, I think we can show your picture now if you like, if you can hear me. I'm not sure he can hear me, but Eric is the guy who we hired to do a survey at that time, and he was going to put this all together, and then all of a sudden the attorney came to us and said, we can't do this. And then we spent, as you know, and I've given you the reports on that, 5 years trying to get the legislation together. What you have before you is a little handout I put together just so we have it all here. And what this is, the suggestion committee's recommendation, which was reviewed by the suggestion committee, is listed there. And it was Eric's proposal that we take the first 6 names and survey those 6. Eric felt that 6, and you all have a copy of the survey, which is going to be done electronically so he can properly slice and dice and provide the data to us so we know not only what the businesses think, what the residents think, and what even those think that don't even want to change the name, so we can survey everybody. But he suggests we do the top 6 names. At the time we put this together, we didn't have a marketing department like the DDA. And so I also met with the DDA last Thursday, was it, Tracy? Yeah, was it Thursday? Yeah, last Thursday, and went over these names, and they made some suggestions. And so those are the 6 other names that are under the DDA review. But it's absolutely up to you on how we proceed on this process. I think Eric's got the right idea that it should only be 6 names, because I think he'll get pretty tired of taking the survey after you do these questions for 6 names. But we'd like to have you all provide us with 6 names. And understand that those 6 names will go out in the survey will come back, and Eric's got the ability to slice it and dice the data any way we want, because it's an electronic survey. He can find out what the businesses think, he can find out what the residents think, he can find out what those folks that don't want to change would prefer if there was going to be a change. He can slice the data any way we want. Finally, that data comes back to you. You may or may not, anytime you can stop this process. You can may or may not pick a name that came back from the survey. Then you pass a resolution by 2/3. That means 5 of you have to be in favor of it to put it on the November ballot. And this is all timed to try and get us to the November ballot. Then when that comes back from the November ballot, the way I read item number 3, and I put the law down there for you, the law we had passed, it says that you are then authorized to change the name. I don't think you have to change the name. If it comes back and it's something you don't like again, or there's been something happen, I don't think you have to change it. Now, I was asked a couple of times, what's the benefit of this? And I didn't know how to do it except to go to some cities that had already done it. And I've got, Auburn Hills, believe it or not, wrote a book on it. It's really kind of interesting. In 1983, they became the city of Auburn Hills. They changed to a city. No townships have actually changed their name like we have. And I talked to the economic development director there, and I said, what has it really meant to you all? And she says, well, since we became the city, it's all the development that's happened has happened since that time. They even have their own country club. The city of Auburn Hills has their own country club. And I said, well, is it the name that made the difference, or is it the government status that you're now a city as opposed to a township? And she said she wasn't sure. But she gave me the book, and so I haven't read the book. I just picked it up in my mailbox today. I've also asked East Point to give me the same kind of information because that's a city that's more similar in size to us. But the point is, we really need to have the 6 names tonight if we can, so Eric can get started on this stuff and we can get it in time for the November election. If we miss the November election, it'll probably be 2 years before we can do this again. Eric is here. I told him I'd do most of the talking for him, but he's here to answer any questions you may have on the survey or any other spot you have. It will be sent out as an electronic survey. In other words, you'll get a URL that you go to and you take the survey online and put it together so that we can make sure there's no ballot tampering and all that good stuff and be able to slice and dice the data right.
So a couple things. One is, hi, Mr. Bowe. You mentioned that it was going to be an electronic survey. There's not going to be any paper copies of a survey that anyone can take. It's been suggested by a couple of trustees that we let as many people know they can take the survey once. And hopefully we can send a notice out on the tax bills. Go to our website. You'll be able to take the survey.
And I'm sure our friendly newspaper that covers all this will have the website available as well.
But it's only going to be digital, electronic. It won't be a hard copy that anybody can take. Is that correct?
That's correct, right? Eric, I'm saying that right. Can you hear me? We can't hear him.
Don't have volume.
We can't hear him. It is. I mean, it is a digital survey. That's how he can manage the data, because he can take it and find out what the residents all thought, what the businesses all thought.
Go ahead, Eric.
It's going to be loud. We're having audio issues, Eric.
Hold up.
For some reason, we're having an audio problem, so hold on.
There we go.
Darn.
Hold on.
Well, it is. That's the bottom line. Sorry it's not working.
Okay, are you?
Any other questions that I might answer in Eric's stead, or I can go research it? I'll lend you the book.
Well, but you're comparing oranges to apples from a city to a township, so I don't
Oh,
care how
absolutely.
much of that book you read, it's not going to really get at the answer.
We don't have any comparison because
Right.
nobody's been able to change the township name since eons ago when we were Garfield Township and became Flint Township. There's no townships that have been able to change the name.
Right.
Now, there's a whole bunch more that want to do it, as I laid in my last letter, that have 8 Grant Townships and so many Lincoln Townships, as you know that. So I can't make any comparison. You're
Will we
right.
see the survey before it's launched?
You have a copy of it, don't you? I thought you all got a copy of it.
Do we, Karen?
I'm trying to think. The DDA got it because we sent it to the DDA.
Thought Tracy sent you all a copy with your packet.
This is all I got.
And so
We don't have it.
We'll get it to you. I
Gary, do
mean,
we know how many emails we have, how many residents' emails that we currently have?
Yes, we can email to everybody that we've got names, emails
She wants to
for.
know how many we have.
So, I mean, out of 30, 35,000, do we have
I
5,000,
don't- Tracy can tell you.
20,000?
Tracy has emails for businesses, and we've been collecting emails through the water department, and I think assessing has some. I don't have that count right now.
That's why I suggested if we could send it out with the tax bill, so it was like a hard copy, just to, that way, so not everybody has an email. I mean, just to make it more inclusive. Most of us do, but not, you know, I'd be curious about the percentage of emails we actually have.
Yeah, but anybody could go to the library,
They went in
put in
there.
the URL, and do the survey if they wanted to.
No, there was a lot of talk.
And a lot of people
I know
can do
we
it on
did
their
the
phones.
survey for
Almost
the trail.
everybody's got a
That
phone.
went well.
That can get that.
So, we can send notice with the tax bill. We could probably send a copy of the survey, but they can't take it, the paper, they can't take it on paper. They still would have to do it electronically. But it would be a great way to get the information out.
And we did this when we were doing the trail, who wanted a trail, who didn't. It went very well, and that was many years ago, where more people have stuff. But yeah, it went very well.
So for those that saw the survey, is it just asking if we were to put this on the ballot, what would you like the name to be? Nothing else? Because what's critical for me is that people understand there's a pretty great possibility that even though we change the name of the township, your mailing address will still be Flint, Michigan.
Will be the same.
48532. And I think that's critical that people are aware of that. And we've never come up with the cost of what it would cost if we were to change this from, you know, to a new name. And I think that's very important. So I don't want to get to November and throw it on the ballot without all this information. 5 years and we still don't have it. I don't know what the rush is between now and November to get it on the ballot if we don't have that information.
It was just suggested that if we can do it in November, we save 2 years more. Otherwise, we're waiting 2 more years beyond that.
Well, we've had 5 and nobody's gathered any information. We're
Well,
still at
we-
the,
we
we're
didn't
really
think it'd
still
get
at
through the
square one in my
legislature.
view.
That's why we, you know. But-
So it was discussed in the DDA. They're doing a market study. And to use, first of all, this survey that would go out is to narrow it down to one name and see how people like that name. Every voter who's registered will get to vote on it in November if it makes it to the November ballot. If it doesn't, I didn't want to spend any money next year on having an election just for a name change. So the next possibility would be a regular election cycle, which would be 2 years from now. If that's what this board chooses to do, then that's what we'll do. But I think with Mr. Bowe, he's just trying to help narrow down to the most favorable name. He does not look at, and I asked him that question, what are the benefits? You know, what's the return on investment? How much it costs? That's not what his survey does. But it was discussed at the DDA to look at using the name in their market analysis study that we've got a grant for. So that did come up because they're concerned too. But I don't know that we have looked at hiring anybody, or if we do it ourselves, I don't know how you'd ascertain the exact dollar amount of how much that would cost.
Well, as you'll remember, in our original report, we suggested that things like officers' badges and uniforms not be changed immediately, but when they get a new uniform, then they have the new name. Same with vehicles. When you get a new vehicle, you change it. Now, maybe we got a fire truck that's going to be here for 10 years, we're going to have to change the name on it. But most of the change will not be significant. Even your stationery. Today, you're printing stationery with the body of the letter. Most businesses do that as well, but the businesses, as far as their address is concerned, it'll still be the same. None of you have a Flint Township address right now, right?
Yeah.
48532
We
is.
do all have a Flint.
No, you don't. You have a Flint address. You don't have a Flint Township
Oh, no,
address.
there doesn't exist, does
You
it?
have a Flint address, or you have a Swartz Creek address, or you have a Flushing address, or you have a Burton address, or you have a Flint address, but you don't have a Flint Township address. It's
Right.
not like Davison Township, where you do have a Davison Township address.
Correct. So if we change the name, then what? We still will have a
You still have,
Flint
the Flint- you still have
address.
all the same addresses. That's
Correct.
what we.
That's
and
my
remember-
point.
Remember, we recommended
seven
that the
of us,
next
right?
step be to
Seven
change the
zip
post
codes.
office. And then the next step is to work with the post office to try and get a zip code, although zip codes are antiquated today as well. Because you use your GPS, you don't use a zip code, so.
So on the survey, it gives you an option, I don't want to change the name. If the majority of people who take the survey, there's an option to say whether or not you want to change your name, the name of the township. But once it goes to the ballot, Jerry, it would just say the name that got the number one,
The name you pick.
the name.
You will get the survey back. You'll see when Eric dices this, he'll say, here's the priority for the businesses, here's the priority for the residents, here's a priority for those who checked, in considering changing the name of Flint Township, I prefer to leave the name as Flint Township. And then they'll go on and say, if you agreed to not change the name, would you like to end the survey, or would you like to complete the survey to see what would be your preference if you didn't want that? So that's an option that's there. So you'll get that data, and you may get 2 or 3 different answers back. And again, you guys will have to make a decision or not. Businesses may prefer one name, and residents may prefer another.
Or not. Do we have him?
Yeah, but I don't know if you can hear him.
Can you hear us, Mr. Bowe?
He can hear you. The issue was it playing here.
We're not hearing you, so I'm sorry. We're having an audio issue.
Okay.
Maybe if I do it through.
You can hear it slightly.
Yeah, go ahead there, now. Yeah, it's coming, I can get it through the computer, but I can't get it.
Yeah, it's coming through the laptop, but it's not coming through the TV. We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, is there any question you'd like me to ask him after the meeting? I mean, I can email you back, because you all need to get a copy of this survey. You need to see this. It's literally 5 questions that are 6 questions repeated for each of the 6 cities that you decide.
Names. Names. You said cities.
So what we need is the names of the cities, yes.
No, township.
Well, we voted on the names of it.
Yeah. The DDA did. They gave us the,
Well, as I say, in that handout I gave you, those were, I alphabetized those. I didn't select a preference because I don't think the DDA had a preference. Those are just the names.
I would like those.
Another way to be able to access the survey. Everyone doesn't have a computer.
they can come in here and do
That's what
it.
I was gonna say. Maybe if we can have something, we can offer maybe a paper for them, because everybody's not.
Well, they can use a computer here. Like there's one in
However we
the,
have to do it, you know,
Yeah.
because everybody don't have a computer, like
right,
even
we
not
can probably
computer
set some
friendly.
up in here, and in the front lobby, there is
Them
one.
and check off, okay,
Yeah.
Tom
That
Clay
way
just
we'll
came
get 'em.
in and he did it. And that way we can register everybody that has the opportunity. What was the DDA's percentage, as far as you said they voted? What was it like 51-49? Was it?
For what?
The vote, to change or not to
We
change?
didn't really take a vote. I was at the meeting, but I do know a few of the people on the DDA board said they didn't want to change the name. So
But also it was understood that the businesses first approached the township, which they did not know at the time, am I correct? It was the business people who want the name changed. Right? That's how it was
That's
put
how
to
it
'em.
started.
That's how this all started.
Yep. So,
And there was a better understanding after that long meeting. There was
And-
lots of discussion, but a better understanding how
Definitely.
this should go about.
I also think everyone understood that we were just asking them to firm up the 6 names, not yes or no on changing the name. But you're correct. There were a couple who said they don't like change and they're fine with the way it is.
So basically, this survey is going to be just like 6 questions, listing the names, asking them, do you want the name changed? If so, are
Here's some
one of
names.
these names one that you like?
Yeah, well, I can give you a sample of the questions.
And then after that, we'll provide research or let them know if it does go to the ballot to actually vote that do more of a study on how much the cost is gonna be, as well as make sure everybody's aware that it's only gonna be the township change name, not the city, for those that live in Flint.
Yes, we can't change the city names.
Right.
Yeah.
Why wasn't there an answer on what was the breakdown from the DDA?
They didn't vote, yes or no.
It was by consensus.
There was never a vote. They voted on the names. They didn't vote yes or no to change it. There was no vote.
We weren't asked to vote.
They were asked to pick 6 names to bring to us to put on the survey.
Okay.
That's what they voted on, and they all voted yes for that to move forward.
6 names.
Yeah.
And these are the 6 here.
And those are
Yep.
the 6 names, correct?
But a few of the DDA board members said they
No.
would prefer
To
not
leave
to
it.
change the
Right,
name.
and that's true, right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also have some concern that our business districts are guiding
The name change.
what's happening with the name change, and
Interestingly enough,
they may or may not live here.
they don't have a vote. MTA, so this came before the legislature, the state legislature, a few times, as it's been reported on. And it passed the third time around with a representative from Davison Township and being sponsored by Michigan Township Association. And the only way Michigan Township Association would sponsor it was if the electors were able to vote. So maybe, as you feel, maybe the businesses are driving this, they don't get to vote unless they live here and they're a registered voter. The people who are going to determine whether or not the name of the township would change would be our registered voters. So really, the businesses don't have a say.
But this survey will give you some information on how the businesses feel.
Yeah.
And then that you can select the businesses' names and put it out there to the residents. And then I think there'd have to be some kind of campaign to make sure they understood why that name was selected.
So after the survey's done, that report will come to the township, because then the township board would have to vote whether or not we move forward. Is that correct?
You'd have to have a 3/5 vote.
3/5 or 2/3?
I'm sorry, 2/3, but that's 5 members. I'm
Five
sorry,
members.
5 members, I got
Sure.
it backwards. To pick a name and put it on the ballot with a resolution, yeah. I'm
How
sorry.
would we know where an individual lives that is taking the survey? If you just go onto our website, how would they know?
Again, each of those machines are identified electronically, and so only one machine can provide one ballot of the survey.
So my husband doesn't get to vote?
Yes, he does.
Separate from me? We use the same, we have to have 2 computers
You
in?
have to use 2 different machines.
Oh, that's not.
So I don't know how they'd they'd vote here at the township. We'd have to get some information
wouldn't
from
work
Mr.
then.
Bowe.
It wouldn't work.
Yeah, that
But if
wouldn't
there are ways to use SurveyMonkey as an option. We do it all the time in the district.
That's what this is.
Where I go in and I have to type in my email address, or I have to type in, who I am, Tom Klee, Carmen Ainsworth,
Yeah.
Mike Warren, whatever it might be, and we are only allowed to access it the one time. Now with depending on how Mr. Bowe plans on doing it, and like you and I were talking, all 3 of us here, having a list, coming here, checking that individual off, making sure that, John Smith or Tom Klee, who doesn't have a computer at the house, is able to utilize the offer and the services here at the township to do it for me. Unless we could have a bypass here some way or another, and I don't know if we can have, that's getting deeper into our internet provider, our service provider, excuse me, and having the folks up in Saginaw handle something like that, if we could get that issue, get over that issue, step over it if that was the case.
I know he said he had a way of weeding out people who are trying to stuff the survey box.
Stuff the ballot, yeah.
But I'm not quite sure exactly how he does that, but I do know Mr. Bowe came and talked to us several years ago, and I know that he was successful on the Pure Michigan campaign ad campaign. And so, unfortunately, he's not able to, we can't hear him address that.
I was trying to read what he typed on
Understand,
the
the survey is
side.
just a sample.
Oh, he chatted.
It's just a sample.
You want to
read it?
Tom, you want to read it? Thank you, Tom.
Well,
can't hear
everybody
him.
has you have your own name and address,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, but that's not what he
it's
said
a
so
sample.
far.
Was,
That's not what.
Hold on.
each entry has a
it
person's
is.
name and address at the start of the survey. We can decide on how many to limit per address. So if I'm married and have 2, obviously, 2, 2, 2. We would allow 2 in the shot, right, Mr. Bowe? Two at my house?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it worked
So there
before.
would be a way to, you're right, there would be a way to track it and
Right.
keep track of that.
But it's like 3 in Carroll, so Crystal.
Be
could-
3.
He said we limit it. Are we gonna limit to 3 or 4 or what?
He says it.
It would be the-
Decide the limit. That's what he said.
We-
You can decide how many to limit.
I would assume it would have to be the registered voters at each address.
But understand, Tom, this is just a sample. You're only going to get a fraction, and then hopefully you'll get 10% of those that you requested to send it in, and that's a sample. Hopefully it represents what the rest of them feel. So if you miss 1 or 2, it's not a huge deal. It's a sample.
Are there any,
But
sorry?
But yes, agreed. And you're absolutely right, Jerry. I'm sure that that's the way that it'll fall, but at least to make it available to any way we can without having any hiccups that an electronic issue would cause issue for.
There's no requirement to do the survey. It was Mr. Anderson that asked, can we find out what the people think? And that's why we went this spot,
So we'll talk with him to see what's available that we can make available for people here if they don't have a computer at home. Because like Barb said, we've taken surveys before here.
Many.
And it's worked well.
Not in the 6 years that I've been here, at least, I'm just saying.
That's what I suggest. is have
So
Mr.
hopefully you
Chairman
can come up with 6 names.
You know, but I don't care.
Any other questions?
I
agree.
just, I think for maybe a little bit older population, which I'm part of, that, yes, I use a computer and I email all the time. I just want to give everybody a chance. So why couldn't we send out a old-fashioned hard copy survey in the tax bill, so it's not costing us a lot, but then people really have the opportunity to weigh in?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody knows where we're at to pay a water bill or their tax bill. So if we can put it out there.
There we go.
Come on in.
Stacy.
Thank you. That would be a good idea.
This is the
So
survey.
we'll see what we can work out here.
Another thought too is that there's the
Thank you.
senior center that was involved a couple times with surveys,
In the-
and they can
I
go
got
up and
you,
use a
kiddo.
computer for free.
Ma'am?
Is there any further questions for Jerry? No?
Thank you, Mr. Preston, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Bowe. Sorry it didn't work out.
Thank you,
We'll
Mr.
be
Bowe.
talking to you soon. So, thank you, Jerry. And lastly, on the rest of my report, I just wanted to say the Road Advisory Committee, who helps make recommendations on the limited amount of resources that we have for the roads, meets on the second Monday of every month at 3:30. And I know that we've discussed your street, but that's where we help form decisions, and then the board makes the decisions on where the money's spent for those road repairs. That's my report this evening. Madam Clerk, do you have a report?
I do. We have new voter ID cards going out to the residents, approximately a little over 26,000 voter ID cards that will be going out to all the residents due to redistricting. And at this point, getting ready for the election in August, we've sent out over, in the last week, over 7,800 apps. So we're moving along. I want to say that's about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Treasurer, do you have a report this evening?
No.
Any trustee reports?
Nope.
No? Staff reports? Go ahead, Lieutenant Wengler.
Good evening. As of the last board meeting, the police department has responded to over 1,960 calls. I know Chief Salter regularly gives report on these, so that's about an average of 93 per day. Additionally, had conducted over 137 business checks, 81 residence checks, and 414 traffic stops. That's largely in part to the seatbelt grant that was recently completed. 2 cases that were of special note, both occurred on May 29th. The first one occurred in the 1200 block of Springboro Drive. Male Flint Township resident was actually robbed by one of his employees. They have a lawn care business, and the employee acted somewhat erratically and pulled a gun on his boss and forced him and the brother into the enclosed trailer, and actually started driving away with the 2 men in the back of the trailer. The one man called his wife while the other called 911 and said, "We're in this trailer." and come help us. So we actually got to the scene relatively quick. The man who was driving the truck actually called 911 himself and says, "I'm not stopping." We were able to get him to stop after a brief, short, low-speed pursuit. Took him into custody and freed the two men from the enclosed trailer, recovering a gun. The case was ultimately presented to the Genesee County Prosecutor's Office. He was charged with armed robbery, carjacking, 2 counts of kidnapping, carrying concealed weapon, and felony firearm with 4 counts of that. So, very fortunate that that ended up the way that it did, that we got those men out of the padlocked enclosed trailer. And then lastly, on the same day, again, May 29th, the Speedway at Miller and Dye Road was robbed at gunpoint. The employees were able to give a vehicle description. Our officers arrived in the scene, actually located the man hiding in his truck behind one of the businesses off of Dye Road. A vehicle pursuit ensued, ultimately ended up on Hemp Hill by Stonegate, pretty high speeds. But a known man, this man is actually on parole out of Grand Blanc. He was ultimately arrested and charged with 2 counts of armed robbery, fleeing elude, possession of a weapon by a felon, carrying concealed weapon, and 4 counts of felony firearm. So he is on parole for robbery, so he is likely headed back to prison. And that's all I have for my report.
Chief Beckman?
All right, thank you. Since the last board meeting, your fire department has responded to 70 alarms. For the total for May of 2022, we responded to 83 calls. That's an uptick. Last May, we only responded to about 70 calls, so we have seen an increase from 2021 to 2022. During that time, on May 25th, we completed our entry-level testing for full-time firefighter. We do have interviews scheduled for those 9 candidates this week, so we'll be continuing on with that process. On May 30th, we responded to a fire alarm at Carmen Ainsworth High School. Our personnel arrived on scene and found a partial power outage and smoke in parts of that building. After some investigating and trying to figure out what was going on, we found a burnt-up motor and belt on a rooftop air conditioning unit. So, large building, but luckily it was a very minor issue. On May 27th, we had a couple of incidents. We responded. We assisted Flint City Fire on a vehicle accident at Clio and Pasadena. We did extricate 1 victim from that vehicle, who unfortunately did not survive his injuries. Just as we were turning that scene over to Flint City Fire, we were called to a structure fire at Miller West Apartments, where a male was severely burned while smoking while using oxygen. Those 2 things do not mix. So he was pretty severely injured in that incident. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of damage to the apartment. So he was transported to the hospital for treatment. On May 1st, we provided coverage with a fire engine and personnel to Flint City while they attended a funeral of one of their members. So we helped to backfill their station so that their personnel could all attend that funeral. There was 8 departments in all in the county that participated in that to assist them. So, just as kind of a couple of notes, we have noticed an uptick lately in cooking fires. So just a reminder: if you're cooking, you're using your stove, those kind of things, never leave that stuff unattended. Always make sure that you're watching those things. Don't walk away. It's very easy to get distracted, and that's a major cause of home fires in the nation. Our firefighters are also out completing our spring hydrant maintenance. So you may see a fire engine out and about. They're driving by all of our hydrants, making sure that they look like they're in one piece. Also, weed whacking, cleaning up any tall grass, weeds, things like that around those hydrants. So, if you do have a fire hydrant in your yard or in the nearby vicinity, please make sure that that's accessible, clear, easy for us to see in case of an emergency. So that definitely helps us out. But our personnel do go out every spring and try to make sure that they're all accessible and easy to see. And the last item I have is just a reminder about smoke detectors. The city of Flint has had 2 fatal house fires in the past 2 weeks. Just this morning, they had a house fire on the west side of the city that killed 5 people. The cause of that is still under investigation. I've read a bunch of articles about it, and one of them said that there was no working smoke detectors in that home. So just a reminder to please make sure that you have smoke detectors in your homes. Please make sure that the batteries are working. If you need them, we offer them, we have them, we come out and install them free of charge. Give us a call, 810-732-4413. We'll come out, we'll take care of you. Please, please, please make sure that you have those. It's absolutely devastating. We have no items on the agenda tonight.
I have a question for you about burn permits.
Yes.
If I want to have a bonfire in my backyard, do I have to call for a burn permit?
Yes, please call for a burn permit. Again, that 810-732-4413, our business line. That line is monitored 24 hours a day. If we don't answer, it's probably because we're on a call, but leave a voicemail. Our duty personnel will get back to you. We do issue burn permits on a daily basis, and it's based off of the weather, the wind conditions, and those kind of things. So in order to burn in the township, you are required to have a burn permit, yes.
And you have to call the day you want to do it?
That's correct. Okay. That's correct. The day of. Yep. They're only good for that day, so we issue them on a day-by-day basis.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment. So it's not actually coming to get a piece of paper, it's an okay over the phone?
That's correct. That's correct. It's a verbal okay. Yep.
And can you repeat that number one more time, please?
Yes, it's 810-732-4413.
We want your cell phone number. No. Mrs. Tucker, do you have a report for us this evening? Thank you, Chief Bethlen.
No report this evening. I have several items on the agenda.
Mr. Worthing, do you have a report for us this evening?
No reports. I have one agenda item.
Thank you. I don't think we have any committee reports. And I think that's it. We'll go on to number 8. Madam Treasurer?
I'd like to make a motion that we pay bills in the amount of $515,155.88.
Is there a second to the motion?
A second.
Any discussions, any questions for Madam Treasurer? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call, please, on approving the motion to pay the bills in the amount of $515,155.88.
Yes, trustee Campbell,
Yes.
trustee Clee,
Yes.
treasurer Miller, and treasurer,
You're going to have to pick one.
treasurer Anderson, Ginger Anderson,
Yes.
supervisor Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Favdahl.
Yes.
Trustee Vert.
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any correspondence or informational items, Madam Clerk? No, we move on to action items. Action item A is the rental inspection proposal. I'm going to turn it over to you, Stuart.
We're looking into, and you have a contract before you.
Stuart, we can't hear you. Can you pull that up, please?
We've been doing some research and looking into implementing a rental inspection, or non-owner occupied inspection, I should say, to where we can basically looking at a company to come in. They provide the services to do rental inspections. They take care of everything from that. At this time, I'd like to bring Sam Woodrick from McKenna Agency up. If you have any questions, he is ahead of the McKenna to do with our proposal.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board. Thank you for having me. My name's Sam Woodrick. I manage building services for McKenna Associates Incorporated. We're very excited for the opportunity to work with the township. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I want to let the board know that Sam and Stuart and I met with our attorney, Peter Goodstein. We went through the contract. He asked questions. We made some changes. And that's the contract you have before you for rental inspections.
Because right now we don't have any, correct?
We've done rental inspections in the past, but I don't think we've done them for the last year or two.
No, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
Any questions?
So the inspections will be handled by their company as no connection to us at all, is that correct?
They're handled through their company, but they will basically work through my department. So they will, basically, we have the opportunity to give them directions as far as where we want them to go and things like that. But the employee will work for McKenna. So they're a contract with us.
But the physical body of the individual will be coming from your area, will not be someone coming out of our building department, correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
Might it be a situation where that we would send one of our people in specific cases where we may need them to go along, or you don't think that is a necessity? just a question that came to my mind.
I'll refer that to,
Generally speaking, that wouldn't necessarily be something that would usually happen. Usually, a rental inspector is able to go and do the inspection on their own without any assistance from the building department. Occasionally, our inspectors come across things that do require some participation and assistance from the building department. For example, uninhabitable buildings that are not safe for habitation. Generally, when we find something like that, we relay that information to the building department. Also, in rental inspections, we often find lots of work that's been done without permits and may be unsafe because it wasn't properly inspected. Once again, we refer that to the building department, and they take it from there.
And can you talk a little bit about the cost of how the program will run?
the program will run, there's a fee schedule that is set up. The fees will be charged to the owner of either the apartment complex or the specific dwelling if they're renting it out. Again, it's for a non-occupied owner. So any rental house, apartments, townhouses, anything like that will be subject to that. The fees then are collected. The township will retain 20% of the fee. McKenna Agency, for their part, will retain 80% of the fees collected. What our intent is, once we build that up, the 20%, we're going to then at that time, once we have the money and the revenue in there, then we want to have them provide possibly some code enforcement for us in certain areas that 20% will cover. So actually, it'll be no money out of the township's budget.
That's the goal.
I think it's a great program. Make the community much safer, our tenants much safer. I know they have, I've heard individuals in other communities talk about their inspections, and at some point, will this be like an annual inspection or every other year? If I'm the homeowner, I'm renting out my, how often would that property?
Yep. It's going to be a biannual inspection, so every other year.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anyone? No? So I'm hoping this works out well, but also I know Peter reviewed it, and if for any reason, any questions, you or the township can back out of the contract with 30-day written notice?
That is correct, yep. Either party can terminate the contract with 30 days written notice.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are we doing the billing and the process and all of the administrative, or is the administrative billing everything else going through you guys so we don't incur an additional cost on the 20?
Right. Yep. So usually the way invoicing works in a situation like this is I or someone at McKenna will pull the financial reports at the end of every month from BS&A. We'll then go through that report, highlight what revenue is directly related to the rental program. We'll then bill our percentage based on that amount and submit it to the township. That makes sense.
Again, back it up, maybe I was unclear. Are we responsible for charging the 100% of the fee and then in turn collecting that fee and paying you 80%? So we're doing the administrative and it's coming just out of the 20%? Is that where we're standing?
You're collecting the revenue, yes.
And our administrative costs are coming out of the 20%, correct?
Correct, yes.
Can we talk about that number? We throw it out there. I mean, if it's an administrative cost, if you're doing the administrative, okay, take the 80. But if we're doing the administrative, I'm sorry, I don't think 20 is fair. That's just me. I'm one of 7.
Yeah, generally speaking, the largest costs that are incurred in operating programs like these are the inspections, actually hiring, training, having the person to go out and actually do the inspection. So generally the administrative part of it is it's not a huge lift usually for a department. As well, we go through BS&A to make sure that all of your workflows and processes inside BS&A are all streamlined so that we cut down on a lot of the back and forth that permit techs need to do with landlords.
I have a question. I'd like to add on to what Cleve was saying. So if we don't collect the money, are you still getting your 80% when we haven't collected it?
No, BSNA reports are on a cash basis, so you will only be invoiced for money that the township had already collected.
And I think, did you mention at the staff meeting also that for the monies that's not collected, you would be responsible to collect it? Because I thought you said they would be collecting, they have a way of collecting from those people that are not paying.
Through their system, I believe. Am I right?
If I could get a little bit more clarity on the situation we're talking about.
We understood that, like a debt collector, you are the debt collector at the end of the day.
No, not exactly in a way. Usually, so if someone is not paying fees that have been assessed, that then becomes enforcement question, right? So the township sends them letters and says, listen, you need to come into compliance with the ordinance, or, and then it, escalates that as is needed. But we don't factor the debt in any way. We don't purchase the debt or collect on it in any way. Once again, it's only revenue that's been collected by the township that is part of the contract.
Because remember, the question came up, will it go on the tax roll if it's not paid at the end of the year?
I believe we can assess it to that, yes.
Just like any, what is it, the property management stuff?
Yes.
If it's
same
not
thing with
collected,
property
it goes on the
maintenance,
tax.
cleanups, everything like that.
So it could be a while before you would collect any money from us.
Potentially, yes, that is correct. We do anticipate low levels of revenue the first couple months of the program, but we do this in a lot of communities across the state, so we're pretty practiced at making sure that we're doing it efficiently and making sure people are getting registered. So we're confident that the township has a sufficient population and percentages of renters rather than owner-occupiers, that there's obviously a lot of unregistered units in the township. So ultimately, we think that that revenue will be there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? So, a motion would be in order to move forward on contracting with McKenna Associates for non-owner occupied dwellings, and hopefully we move into code enforcement too. Anybody?
I'll make the motion to authorize Supervisor Miller to execute the contract with McKenna Associates for code enforcement and non-owner occupied dwellings as presented.
Is there a second to the motion?
Support.
Any further questions or discussion?
As long, I'm all for the revenue being generated into the township, but I don't want to see our 20% going.
Well, we've already discussed that. We can't lose money. And,
I don't want to see additional dollars going out of our building department for having to chase this paperwork, okay?
I agree.
That's all I'm saying, and I think it's a great idea to generate the revenue any way we can. I'm the advocate that screams about it all the time, so as long as we don't see
Yeah, and the thing is, Tom, is like the contract, and we had that put in there, the 30 days, because we want to utilize this, and if it works for both parties, and I mean, we're looking out for our interest, the township's interest, so if it works, we're gonna stay with it and do it. If we find that we're not and we're losing, then we'll contact them and then either make a change or terminate at that point. So we're not locked in for anything more than the 30 days to where we can, but from other programs that they've done, it's proven that it basically gives you a safer, cleaner community. And that's what we're looking for.
Right, absolutely. No argument there.
And if I may, Trustee, communities ultimately, building departments are generally meant to be funded by user fees, not taxpayer dollars, right?
Right.
So we find that most communities that institute programs like this, it really becomes a win-win situation because we have our costs covered, we're able to supply the inspectors, and the department has an extra surplus that, aside from some of the administrative costs, which it usually more than covers, the department has a surplus that wasn't there previously and can be used to pay inspectors or cover vehicle costs or all the other things that we need for a safe built environment. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
How will we know which properties to be selected? Is that something that you'll have a list of, or something, a targeted list, or something that you, the building department?
We'll coordinate with McKenna and start in certain areas, certain apartment complexes and things like that, to where we're gonna target the areas that we need to get fixed and cleaned and safe. It's all about public safety, basically. And most of their inspections are a safety inspection. They're not looking for, code things that I look for. If they come across that, they'll notify me, then that's when I take over.
Okay.
But we're looking for safe houses, safe apartments, things like that is what we're looking for. Fire, like Chief said, smoke detectors.
Okay.
Means of egress, things like that, stairways, all that stuff is safe for people, because landlords, a lot of them, they let them go. They just don't worry about it. This will take care of that.
We already pulled that list from assessing, and you've seen it too. The list of, if you have a primary residence, you get the exemption. So the homes that are listed that are not 100% PRE, you look into those.
And we also closely monitor commercial listing sites, your rents.com, hot pads, other places where rental properties are often listed. Generally, our officers will be monitoring those as one of the enforcement strategies that they have.
I know we talked about having something on our website that would introduce the program to the residents so that when they show up, there's no surprise.
Yeah.
They understand it's
Yeah,
never been done before. They'll, it's like, what do you mean you inspect my home? Nobody's ever inspected. I think we need something to send out to residents, and also maybe on our website to say
good.
Flint is we're making an attempt to make our community safer, and this is one of those.
Yeah, and making that communication open, not just for landlords who are going to have to be doing the work of coming into compliance, but also tenants, so that they know that their municipality is looking out for their best interests. And doing
That's a
these
good point, because when you were working as fire marshal and doing more inspections, Treasurer Anderson got a lot of calls from the businesses like, what's going on? So that's a good point. Thank
We'll
you.
put something on the website.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and support. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, did you have anything else? No? Can you take the roll call, please, on,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sign. Trustee Vert?
Yes.
Trustee Favdal?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Trustee Clee?
Yes.
And Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Thank you. We move on to new signage. Mrs. Tucker?
So right now, the DDA has two signs, one at Miller Road and one at Bristol Road. We have been working with Signs by Creaney to get the sign at Miller Road changed, and I included in your packet what the new sign looks like. I don't know if some of you didn't get it, but that there. They're looking at putting this at Miller Road, and then moving the sign that's at Miller Road to Corona and Graham Road. And then they're also going to do some landscaping there and solar power for the one there on Corona Road, and then landscaping at Miller Road. The sign itself is at no cost to us, and there will be some dollars that we will make from the rental of the sign. But mainly, the biggest thing is that he's providing this sign is probably $100,000 sign. I wanted to bring this to you so you could get a look at it. Just make sure there's nobody that absolutely hates the sign. we'd like everybody to be happy with it. And then also to ask that the township provide the permits for the signage. And if there's any outright costs, then we would reimburse the township for that. That's what we're looking at.
So, you're asking for us to vote on approving the expenditure of up to first of all, the sign, and then, am I wrong? Go back.
The DDA is spending those dollars, not the township board.
Okay.
So
You just want to,
we just want you to approve the sign and.
Someone want to make the motion?
Minutes.
I'll make the motion to accept the sign as presented so we could get to discussion.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
That's where I wanted to go.
There's a second. Did you have anything to say, Tom, about the sign?
I always defer to being the last, if you don't mind.
I know, but you made the motion, so I thought it
Okay.
off. Go right
I'll go.
ahead.
I just have a quick question. So where you've got this Welcome to Flint Township, that's all going to be, what do you call it?
Permanent. Fixed.
That's going to be
Permanent.
fixed?
Yes, that would be fixed, correct?
Yes,
So
the
what we do
screen
that-
is digital. Everything else is fixed.
Welcome to Flint Township will be fixed.
Fixed.
So would we want to wait until after November to see what happens if we change the name?
I don't think so. That cost is minimal.
I would say that cost would be not,
I
I don't
like
think
the
that's a
thought,
big
but
deal.
I'm gonna
I
jump,
wouldn't rush to do it then
I'm
until
gonna
we.
jump on this question.
It's a good point.
We're spending money already on Flint Township and we don't even know what it's going to be in November.
Well, we're not spending anything on this sign.
Somebody is going to spend money.
Right.
Dan Craney.
Why spend money?
Yeah, but he's gonna move our sign that's on Miller Road over here, so, I mean,
Go ahead, Tom.
All right, and I didn't hear all of it, I know I've had some conversation, but the full motion video screen, is that outside advertisers gonna be allowed to use that? Did I catch that from your, just a little bit of what Craney was gonna use it for, or
Flint
is it?
Township businesses will have preference.
Okay,
And then they have asked that if we don't have something and if there's not enough from the businesses here, that they would be able to get outside advertising, national advertising is what he's targeting.
There was
Can
two,
we-
what were the two limits? I'm sorry.
Can we, thank you, coming from, and a lot of you know this, coming from the sign industry, question I have right away then is, if we put our name on that, that means we, in all honesty, we become the person that automatically accepts. So if I put Flint Township on there and we put up Nathan J's, and I use that as an example, and don't laugh, but do we have exclusivity rights to whom can and will be put on there?
There is content discussion being had, yes.
Okay. As long as that discussion is in place.
Did they not vote on that already?
Yes.
No political signs and no,
Correct.
no, what word was it?
Social establishments for a
Well,
respectful
they
word?
wanted
Paragraph.
anything inappropriate.
Okay.
But they had a different word for it, but yes, I've got it, yeah. Well,
So they
we'll be
put-
talking to Dan about that. We're not gonna sign anything until we get that cleared up.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Tom?
Do you know the approximately time frame that we're looking at to get this going?
A few months, because it'll take them time to build the sign.
I could wait till after November. Any other questions?
And then Rainey would sell all the ads, and then wasn't it a 15% revenue
Right.
for the township? So that's a good factor.
Right, I wanted to, but the revenue is nice, but I still wanted to know that we were
Appropriate. Yep.
focusing on that piece there, that, we have to be, we take ownership to it the minute that happens. I like it a lot, I like the idea. And we always have, you and I have good dialogue back and forth to each other. To pick a name and to have an election and put it on the election in November, I really don't think that we will have made the decision to make that change. And, I mean, not even $1,000 to change the numbers, I would bet, seriously. So, I mean, I think we go with it, and if he can have it up by September 1st and it looks nice for the fall and everything's switched, make it happen. Make it happen, Captain.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution for the sign, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Action item C, Mrs. Tucker, target market analysis study. Try and say that 3 times fast.
No, thanks. So this was brought to, at the last meeting, and I know you wanted some explanation a little bit. Let me grab my stuff here. And I did take it back to the DDA for them to look at. They did vote to move forward with it as well. The point of the target market analysis study was basically to look at the Miller, Linden, Lennon Road area to do a market analysis study and corridor plan. It's intended to provide the Flint Township DDA with relevant information to provide direction for business retention and attract and attraction practices for the future. The study should include an existing market area description and demographics, which would basically be that triangle area, and then what people are included in that area, what businesses are included that area, the potential for new commercial and industrial businesses and services, and general marketability of the corridor over the next 5 to 10 years. The goal of the study is to focus on diversification of the business climate, the potential for mixed-use development with the goal of providing for sustainable development within the corridor, and it should be a standalone document. Now, I will note that when we did this particular scope, and we will have to make some changes because the visioning was finalized, and now the zoning, Stuart left. The zoning update is being completed. You should have the ordinance at the next meeting to update the zoning ordinance to match that corridor plan. And like I said, at that time, that corridor plan was not complete. So we're gonna have to change the deliverables a little bit. But basically what we're looking at for deliverables would be that we get an overall idea of what the existing conditions are, and the roadway characteristics, utility types and locations, those types of things, because that's what businesses are looking at when they're coming in. Also, to provide a market potential study to let us know what buildings are there, what possible reuses are for those buildings. Facilitate meetings with stakeholders, provide an action plan for strategies for the corridor over the next 5-10 years. Provide a set of site development guidelines for the corridor, and facilitate any master plan amendments that need to be done. The master plan amendments probably won't need to be done because we've already done those with that corridor plan that we did for Genesee Valley. So some of these things will change up a little bit, and it will have to, I'll have to write a new RFP to accommodate those changes.
So you want us to vote on moving forward the target market analysis study, and I want to make sure the ARPA funds from the county, we've gotten a grant toward this for $35,000, right? Okay. And we have to match it at least, right?
Right, and at the last meeting, you approved that, but you wanted me to make a presentation to let you know exactly what this was, so that's
So a motion
why it's
would,
back on here.
thank you. A motion would be in order to move forward?
We would move to accept the resolution as posted by Economic Enhancement Director Tracy Tucker for the market analysis.
Is there a second to the motion? Support. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
I have a question. The DDA did ask to have the name change included in that, right?
Yeah, the possible name change.
Right.
Yeah, it will be, that will be part of what we're gonna have to rewrite too,
And
to
so what
let
is-
them know that there is a possibility of a name change.
Okay, and what is the match that the township's going to be paying?
Is it not to exceed 33? I think
Not to exceed 67 was in the
Proposal.
the proposal that you voted on last time.
So we'll just match what the grant dollars that were given,
Okay.
or less, if we get something
Yeah,
less
it
by
looks like
bid.
we'll probably end up doing a smaller amount anyway, because when we got the responses to the RFP last time, there were several layers, and I think now that we have the master plan already done, I think that will drop some of those costs of those layers down several, because they went everywhere from 60 grand for the study to, you could get up to 120,000. And to be perfectly honest with you, the one we really liked was the one from Gibbs Planning, and he was the cheapest at 60,000. So I don't think we're gonna be anywhere near
The matching dollars that we're going to use are from our ARPA funds, is that correct?
Right, right.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call on moving forward with the target market analysis study, please?
Sure. Trustee Verb,
No.
Trustee Favdon,
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson,
Yes.
Supervisor Miller,
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Trustee Clee,
Yes.
and Trustee Campbell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Action item D is to accept the resignation of DDA member Steve Snyder and to appoint a new board member. I got to get to that. DDA board member.
Juan.
So, it's Kiwan Brown. We can do this accepting, okay. So a motion would be in order to move forward on accepting Steve Snyder's resignation on the DDA board and appointing the Director of Support Services from HAP, Mr. Kiwan Brown, as their representative on the Flint Township DDA.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any questions? No? All those in favor of appointing Director of Support Services Kiwan Brown from HAP signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That stands approved. Action item E, Madam Clerk.
Yes, this is to hire, during the elections in May, we were able to get a young lady to work part-time. She works, she seemed to work out very well and does very well at the township, so we're looking to hire her full-time. So I'd like to make a motion to hire Zaya Salone full-time at the Flint Township in the Clerk's Department. Can I get a
Is it
motion?
Was that the motion?
full-time? Is it temporary full-time?
We're gonna go full-time,
Are you saying permanent full-time?
yes,
We're going to take this off then,
yes.
the motion.
Well,
So the
you have to follow.
We had some back and forth, either temporary, full-time, but we feel full-time would be sufficient.
But if we were to hire her permanent full-time, you have to post, and according to the language of the clerical contract, then we'd have to interview and take the test.
So
So
we want to go temporary, full-time?
I have a question
Sure.
because, and I thought, this position was approved by this board, and I don't have the date, and I apologize, I'm coming in from vacation. But we approved this particular position for a full-time position. We hired the young lady out of Vienna Township. She was a no-show. We had a person that came in to fill in during the election time, and Ms. Triplett has decided that this young lady is a good fit for the township and is wanting to replace that name with this particular
previous one.
name.
Yes.
We've already been through posting, unless you're saying the union feels we need to repost. We've already been down that road. We've already posted, nobody applied for the position. I thought we were going to clarify that.
So
with the
I
union
agree,
as to
she
where
is
we
a
are.
great employee. I want to say that. We didn't approve the position, we approved the person. We posted the position, we interviewed those ladies, and they all took a test. And Zaya wasn't one of those three who tested. We took Radonna, who was number one on the testing. She's permanent full-time. And then we looked at the other lady from Vienna who had great skills. She was able to do work in the tax department, clerk's department, and elections. So we did approve that. I don't think I was here for that meeting, but it was approved. This young lady is part-time right now, and she's working out great. She does a good job, but she never was interviewed and never took a test. So we can hire, I believe, temporary full-time today, and if we want to post for permanent, I think we'd have to go through the posting process according to the language of the clerical contract.
I'm going to check with Melissa on that. I was supposed to do that. I don't think I ever got back with her on that, but I know that. So you're saying the board approves the person? Because
They
we
hire
had a
and
name
fire each
before,
person,
because she
yes.
was the original person that we hired was a no call, no show.
So through the budget, we set everybody's budget as far as how much money they're going to spend through
Is
the
there a
year.
motion
And,
put on the table?
she's got a motion for.
Then we shouldn't be discussing. There should be a second, take a vote and move on.
Right, but the motion needs to be clarified because it makes a big difference if we're going to hire a temporary versus permanent.
Well, that
There's
should
two
have been
different
up here with
processes.
any changes.
Well,
Was not, so I'm not
can we
sure.
hire her temporary full-time now and then bring it back if we're going to go permanent
Sure.
full-time?
Yes, we can do that.
So
If we can get a motion to do something.
you've made the motion. It'll be temporary, full-time. Is there a second to the motion?
Support.
Any further discussion or questions?
Yes. So per the contract, you can hire a part-time person, have them work so many hours. Am I correct? 240 hours, which would take her to the end of the year. Am I correct?
Yes.
So why do we have to have the word full-time in there? What is part-time what is temporary full-time? I'm not comfortable with that.
You're talking about you're talking about the piece of the contract, bargaining contract that says during an election year, you can hire an additional person. This will be an additional person beyond that if it were necessary.
Okay, all right.
So it doesn't speak to those individuals that you can bring in on those 120 days. This is should be a full-time, permanent is what
The
it should be.
state labor laws dictate how many hours they can work before you have to start paying insurance. So she's able to work full-time, which would be a 35-hour work week with no benefits as temporary. If she were going to be full-time, she would receive benefits, and then she'd also be a part of the clerical union. So we got to, does that answer your question?
Just seems like a mess.
We have a motion to hire what's her last name? Sloan, temporary full-time, at the amount of, the rate of $18.50 an hour. Any other questions or discussion?
So just.
I have it. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just want, I think with Barb and yourself, I just wanted some clarification. So we're looking at, this young lady would be hired as a temporary, we're gonna maintain the temporary status, but the question I guess I have is, if you so desired to look at pursuing the permanent position, then we could post and she would be eligible, correct me if I'm wrong, she would be eligible for that process. Am I right? Okay.
It's exactly what Radonna did.
I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
had it clear that she could be put in the position, do her job, learn more than what she already has, and then could be one of the number of that could come in for that position.
I agree, and I think she's, for me personally, she's done even more than what an applicant and a person that tests really shows you. She's been on the job for 2 to 3 months and has performed exceptionally well, so she's gone way beyond any applicant that we will get, and a person that can test very well, but are they a good fit for the job? May or may not, so that's where I am.
And she
with-
has some of her certifications, which she's working on her basics right now as we speak for QVF, which is what we need to continue to maintain the clerk department along with all the residents' cards and ID cards and voters registration.
And you recommend her highly, so.
Oh, definitely.
I'm going to say, too, that she is a nice person. She's really great. She's good. She gets along with everybody. But I'm disappointed that I feel like I didn't have the full information tonight with discussion that's been had prior to tonight, and I'm very upset about it. Because after the election, there's no work for that person to do, and we talked about this years ago with the previous clerk, and I'm not happy with this. So I will be a no vote.
Alrighty, any other discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Burt?
No.
Trustee Fabdahl?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Clee?
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Action item F. New pump stations. Mr. Pfeiffer.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Madam Supervisor and members of the board. At the last Township Board meeting, I kind of gave an overview of the situation with the current existing sanitary pump stations for Flint Township. Everybody, I think, was at that meeting, so there's no need for me to really go too much more into that. But just to sum it up, the township currently has 4 existing sanitary pump stations. 2 of them are larger, older stations, and the other 2 are newer, smaller type stations. So we don't know a lot about them as far as the township, because the county water and waste has maintained them over the years, and they're actually the oldest ones were designed like in the 60s, so there's not a lot of information around. The 2 newer ones I think were the late 90s. But anyhow, what I want to do and what this recommendation is first to do a preliminary engineering report and study, estimates of cost, and find out more about what we have and, what has to be done, try to get into the capacity a little bit, but basically work that's required anyhow when you design a pump station, just to get a better handle on exactly what it is that we got to do, meet with the county, get some input, discuss it further with the township. And the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to just do the preliminary phase first in order to define what has to be done. And the fee for the preliminary phase is part of the overall fee, so you're not paying extra. Let's just say that if the overall fee were initially $50,000 for one of the larger pump stations, this would go towards it. We just end up prorating it later based on what the actual cost would be, and I'd have to present another contract to the board also for what those final fees would be. So since there's a lot of unknowns, I believe this is the most efficient way to handle it. And for the two larger stations, we pretty well determined they have to be removed and replaced because they're over 50 years old, and they're not the type of pump station we use nowadays. And because of the importance that we can't ever allow them to fail, it's time, I believe, to replace them. And the other two that are newer, though, they should be okay. But what we'll look in those stations, we'll look at, can we upgrade what's there now? There's some things that can be done to make them more effective and to make them, better than what they are. Like we'll consider, should we put an on-site generator there at the site permanently, so if there was ever a power outage, the power would switch over automatically rather than having to get the county out, find a generator, run out there and plug it in. So, and other things like there's a quick connect fitting that we can put in to be able to facilitate hooking the temporary pump on if it has to be done. Smaller, less costly type repairs for the two newer ones. But the bottom line is to bring all four pumps they should be currently at this time. And as I said, we've got two distinctly different situations here, so that's basically what we would like to do. And the estimated fee to do the preliminary engineering and the actual preliminary report would be $25,000. That would be for all four pump stations. I would estimate as a minimum that the ultimate total fee to do all the detailed design and construction plans and bidding documents and everything would be a minimum of about $100,000 to $125,000. So this is approximately no more than 1/4 of that total fee, and typically 33% is considered to be a realistic number for preliminary engineering. So that's what I propose to do, and I'm asking the board tonight to approve that proposal. If there's any questions anybody has, I'd be happy to answer them. I think everybody got a copy of my proposal, I believe, so if any questions, please.
Thank you. A motion would be in order to move forward?
We would move to accept Mike Pfeiffer's from Craft Engineering, his proposal for the pursuant of the replacement of 2 and upgrade of 2 pump stations.
Can you state the amount, 25,000?
Sure. To the value of $25,000 for all for the fee.
Preliminary engine, yeah. And this will be
Preliminary
coming
engineering.
out of the water department fund. Is there a second to the motion? Or any further discussion or questions for Mr. Pfeiffer?
Thanks again, Mike.
Well, if not, then Madam Clerk, roll call please to approve the motion to proceed with and complete the preliminary engineering report with Craft Engineering for a total not to exceed $25,000.
Trustee Fabdo?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Trustee Clee?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Burt?
Yes.
Thank you. Action item G is the water and sewer rate study proposal. Mr. Pfeiffer?
Yes. Thank you again. We put out a request for proposals in April to perform a rate study for the sanitary sewer and water main systems. And basically what this would do, now, first of all, I'd say we don't know the last time a rate study was done for Flint Township. It's been quite some time, and they are actually an important tool that we use to make sure that we adequately fund the system to make sure that we can cover all costs, wherever they might be. But basically, the objective of the study would be to develop a 5-year financial plan that would adequately fund utility operations, utility improvements, capital costs, bonded debt, and to develop a strategy to ensure the current and future financial stability of the utilities, in this case the water main and the sanitary sewer systems, while minimizing impacts on the customers. So basically, in summary, we're just trying to look into the future and determine what all the costs are going to be to adequately take care of the two systems, and then to make sure that we're charging the correct amount in terms of the rate structure fee to the residents of the township, to make sure that we have those monies in place when we're going to need them. And basically, when I sent out the request for proposals, there's not a whole heck of a lot of firms that do this type of work. It's really a specialty expertise. But we sent out a total of 5 proposals, and 2 of them declined, that they didn't want to submit a proposal. The third one was, we actually got 2, and the third one out of the 5, they were going to submit a proposal until they found out they weren't selected as a financial analyst for the Flagstone Point project, and he thought that would create a conflict of interest or something, and I told him they're really 2 separate projects. I don't really see a problem, but he chose not to submit a proposal. So we ended up with 2 proposals, and both of the proposals were, I believe, well-written, and both of the firms are very capable of doing the work. I think everybody got a copy of the 2 proposals. I don't know if you've had a chance to look them over, if you have any questions, but if you do, I'd be happy to, to answer any questions that I can. But basically, what I looked at were some important factors that we should consider. Number one, the capability of the firm, their qualifications, their expertise, and I said both of them can do this. There's no doubt about that. So it's a matter of a second consideration would be cost. Okay, the Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, who are located in East Lansing, by the way, so not that far from the township, and there are none of these firms in Genesee County do this work that I'm aware of. And their price was $39,500, and that would be to do a rate study for both the sanitary sewer and the water main systems both. Sometimes they only do one for one or the other. In this case, we have to do both. But their fee included all expenses in up to 5 in-person meetings, which is an important part of their proposal, because the other firm didn't include the meeting, and they're less. So we have to look at that, the fact that we have up to 5 meetings, and basically, I think the cost of those from some rates of the other that I had looks like they would cost at least about $1,500 per meeting. So I think we've got up to $7,500 in meetings that we have with that proposal. The other one, Utility Financial Solutions, their price is $33,800, but any in-person meetings were extra, and also they charge for any direct expenses that they have in the job. So there's some costs that would be forthcoming based on how many meetings we would ultimately have. I believe that 3, 4, or 5, that's right in there. As I said, we haven't done anything in a long time, so I think that we need to help educate them to the township, and vice versa. They need to educate us. So I can see us having easily 3, 4, or 5 meetings. So I took that into consideration. If we do have 5 meetings, then you're looking pretty close to the same price. If we end up with 5 meetings for both of them, $39,500 for Baker Tilly, and it would be $41,200 technically for Utility Financial Solutions. Again, that's dependent upon the meetings, but I can see us having these. I don't know if anybody has a feeling on that, but I certainly want to have one to educate the board themselves, so you got an idea of what it is they're proposing to do and have a chance to ask questions about that. And then I know we'd have to have a second one that would be kind of a kickoff meeting with water and waste in the township and some other important players in the project. And then I'm sure there'll be some that are required as we go along. And then also I looked at location. Again, Baker Tilly is in East Lansing. and Utility Financial Solutions is in Holland. So they're a long way away, and since they charge for travel time, they do give half rate of their billings, but half rate is $165 per hour. So I figured it's at least a 5-hour round trip that you're talking about, which is about $900 nearly, plus the time they're here. That's at least 2 hours at their rate at $330 would be, that's assuming he doesn't bring somebody else with him. That would be right about $1,500, okay? So the fact that they're farther away from us, I guess is, something that, I thought should be taken under consideration. It's a little bit easier working with somebody when they're a little bit closer to you. And also, I looked at who their clients were, and Baker Tilly has done some rate studies for some other communities in Genesee County. They're currently working with Fenton Township right now because they're looking at bringing a water main system to the township. So they're working with them. In the past, they've worked with the city of Flint, the village or city of Linden, and Goodrich, and Duran, Owasso. So they've worked with some of our neighbors. Whereas most of the work that's been done by Utility Financial Solutions is on the west side of the state, as you might expect. I do know that they did some work in Bruce Township and Macomb County because they're one of my clients, and they did use them, and they did a good job. So as far as their qualification, their capabilities, I believe they're somewhat equal. So I tried to look at these important considerations beyond what that would be. And as far as completion time, they're similar. Utility Financial Solutions would be 12 weeks. Baker Tilly would be 16 weeks. So taking into consideration of all those factors and the cost, it would be my recommendation that the township hire Baker Tilly, because I think the cost and the end analysis will be very similar, and they've had experience in this area, and plus they're closer to us, which will cut down on travel time, and they also should be a little bit more familiar with things over here on the east side of the state. So with that, please let me know if you got any questions. Do you have any thoughts on the matter yourself of what you think might be important that we should look for? Or if you want it and feel more comfortable, you could just authorize a certain amount, and then we could, work out the details after we meet with each of them in the next few weeks. I think they're willing to meet. Maybe it wouldn't be in person, but at least by Zoom or something like that, so that we could feel them out a little bit more and make sure of exactly, what they would propose and what their capabilities are. So there's a couple different ways that we can handle it, but on the other hand, we haven't done it in a long, long time. Supervisor Miller feels it's very important, as I do also, because I don't know how the rates are currently charged now. I think they started out at a certain figure some time ago, and pretty much when the county passes on a rate increase, I think the township pretty much passes that same rate increase along. So because we don't have anything on record, I think it's very important that this be done as soon as possible. So that's my recommendation. So first, I'd like to know, do you have any input, anything that is important to you?
Tracy, you having longevity here. I've been here since '08. We've not done a rate study. John Irvin did the rates. And the last time we raised our water rates was 2011. The last time we raised sewer rates was 2009. Do you recall when the last time we did a rate study?
John did one, but that was right after they did the CCIF fees. So that was like 2004, I want to say.
All right, it's been a
so
long,
it's
time.
been, yeah. And he did one, I want to say around 2010, that was just basic showing what our costs were and giving history. But I think an actual study hasn't been done since, I want to say 2002 through 2004.
Okay. So do we have questions of Mike, or do we want to make a motion and move forward on his recommendation? How do we want to handle this?
Just a quick question. In your review, was anybody else involved with the review of these two companies?
No, I sent them to the supervisor, and I also had somebody else with my company look it over, so I had somebody to bounce ideas off with. But no, it's basically been myself, another person in my office, and I've discussed it with the supervisor.
Was there consensus on with the Baker Tilly?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Most important, like I said, the proximity and the fact that they've done work in this area. As I said, they're both capable, but the way gas is going now, I got a feeling that trip might even be way more expensive than it is now, so.
So do we want to have a motion to move forward?
I have one
ahead.
quick question, Mike.
Sure.
So it sounds like location-wise, Baker Tilly would help us. But
Yeah, because-
my question is about the time to do the work, that
Right.
Baker Tilly was, an extra 4 weeks
Yes.
over the other ones. So would that balance out the cost, or you don't think so?
Oh, no, it wouldn't really have any effect on the cost. It's just that, that's their estimate. It's just that we get the study quicker with Utility Financial Solutions than we were with Baker Tilly. But I think that we've waited all this time now that I don't think that 4 weeks is going to make or break it. So if they were something like, 6 or 8 months, I'd be more concerned about it. But I think, within the next 4 or 5 months, if we get something, I think that would be realistic, in my opinion. Anybody, Karen, is that something that you think would be reasonable? Yeah, it's going to take them some time to do the work anyhow, so I don't think the difference of 4 weeks would really matter in the end analysis. And it won't affect the cost.
Probably add the time.
Yeah.
The number
They're
of time,
accounting
the
for
number of
meetings.
times.
All righty, are we ready to make a motion to move forward on the recommendation, or did you want to meet with them?
I would make a motion that we move forward with Mike and Kraft recommendation to go forward with the study. It sounds like because we haven't done it in so many years that it's time.
Are you saying with Baker Tilly, his recommendation? Is there a second to the motion?
Clee would,
Oh, it was trustee Factall. Any further questions for Mr. Pfeiffer? Any further discussion? No? All righty, Madam Clerk, roll call please on hiring Baker Tilly to do the water and sewer rate study in the amount of $39,000.
Okay, Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Trustee Clee?
yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Favdov?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you. I will let them know tomorrow and see if we can't put some type of schedule together, report back to the supervisor, so you'll know at the next meeting what we've got planned, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
So, the last item on the agenda is, what is this? E, F, G, B, H, but it says number 11. So we have a settlement in a legal case, in a legal matter to discuss, and Peter recommended we go into closed session. So if that's what we want to do, a motion is in order to move into closed session. And we vote on it when we come back into open session.
Peter going to be here?
Yeah,
No.
is Peter here?
No.
Then why would, how would we have questions?
Because it's not settled yet and it's confidential.
I realize that, but without Peter here to ask questions.
Peter didn't do any work in this. It was a company hired, it was Plunkett Cooney, hired by our liability insurance.
Is somebody here other
No.
than?
It's a matter of do we accept this or not? It's a simple question. Can we get a motion to move into
Motion
closed
to go into
session?
closed session.
Is there a second?
That means we're going to clear the room.
I'll second.
Can you take a roll call vote on that, please?
I can. Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Favdov?
Yes.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes. Trustee Clee?
I guess so.
And Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
The motion?
Alrighty, so we're going to go into closed session, and when we're done, we'll come back out. Thank you.
We stopped
Is that a
the-
way of saying bye,
stopped the
everybody?
thing.
Right.
So
Did you freeze it much?
I can't hear you.
She did come in. I held the door and the door went.
Alrighty, so
Sorry. I do like
we are back in open session, and we have the last action item to vote on. Would someone like to make a motion on approving the legal case settlement?
Anderson moves that we approve the legal case settlement as provided from our legal counsel.
To pay up to the deductible?
To pay up to
yeah?
the deductible.
Is there a second on the motion?
Or
any further discussion? I think so. Alrighty, we're gonna have a roll call vote on approving the settlement offered by Rhonda Stowers with Plunkett Cooney for us to pay up to the deductible in the settlement.
Treasurer Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Klee?
Yes.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Faldor?
Yes.
Trustee Burt?
yes.
Clerk Triplett, yes.
Alrighty, so that brings us to the end of our action items. You asked about, Jerry, you asked about this, you didn't want the board to vote on the names?
You guys need to make a suggestion to go on the survey. I don't care how you arrive at it, but we can take the first six names that the suggestion committee does. We can take the 6 names that the EDA came up with, and we take some mixture of that, but he needs to have the names to develop the survey to get it going.
So Lisa was asking, what about bringing it back at the next meeting?
Bring what back?
To vote on the 6 names from the DDA.
Table it.
What does that do to the timeline, trying to get it to the,
Well, it's
August 16th is the deadline for any initiatives to go on the November ballot.
yeah, but
What's going on in November? Oh, November ballot.
is in development code and testing. He wants to start on the 6th of June with testing of the survey. And he's scheduled to send it out on the 20th of June, to have it available for everybody to take on.
Today is the 6th.
He's gonna have to
Today's the
wait.
6th.
Right.
We want to table it.
Yep.
We met with him, he said he has to have this timeline, or we're not gonna make it.
Well, he's gonna have to. How
So,
much are we paying him again? He's
not
works for
too
us.
much.
He works for us.
So our next meeting's on the 20th.
He works for us.
If that's what the board wants to do, we can bring it back on the 20th, because
But what if we don't make the timeline then?
maybe that's the plan here, is they don't want to make the timeline. I don't know. I know that the ballot initiative for the November election is due August 16th. So,
He said it for the 15th for the board to pick that name after the survey.
so there wouldn't be, how long is this survey out for? Couple weeks?
It's available from the 20th through July 1st.
We talked about July 4th weekend.
July 5th is when he starts the
It's a short timeline.
It is, and the reason again was to see if we could get it on the November ballot. And if we don't do that now, I don't want to pay to have a special election.
You can't pay for it. If you read the bottom of the piece I put out today, it must be in the August or November election. It can't be a special election.
I know, but the gubernatorial elections are this year, the presidential is in 2 years. If, like you said, the law states it has to be in August or in November. If there's nothing else that's going to go on the ballot in August or November, if we wanted to do it then, that cost would be on the township.
It says it must be an election held at the next August regular election date or November regular election date.
Which,
whichever
if it's,
comes first.
there may be, I don't know. I don't know the future as to who would put anything on the ballot next August or November. There may not be, because like I said, the gubernatorial's this year and the presidential's in 2 years. So, I don't know, it sounds like that you guys want it to come back at the next board meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And
That's
so
what
it
I'm
won't meet any of the timelines, correct?
I'm sorry?
It's not gonna meet any timelines?
It may not.
Okay. I'm just going to make a comment here. One is that Mr. Preston has done a lot of work, and he's followed up by what the committee wanted him to do. Not what he wanted to do, but what the committee asked. And if it's 5 years in the legislation or wherever the heck it's been, it came back. Okay? And we can change it. If the community decides to do that. But to put roadblocks
I'm
in
not
front
putting
of...
roadblocks, but I'd
It
like,
is my choice of words is what I'm saying, is I feel that it is a roadblock
okay.
because I don't care if it changes or not. I really don't care. But I think that the community should have the opportunity to do it as soon as possible. That's what the committee asked for. Everybody that was at those meetings, please do that, sir, and he did it. That's all I want to say.
I wish those meetings would have taken place at this board. Where the final vote would be. I'm only one vote, so.
Oh, I know,
Go
I
for the
know.
vote then. Just put it out there.
Right.
We can go for a
right.
vote.
Well, we have a recommendation from the DDA.
To put the 6 names on.
6 names on,
To wait.
On a survey.
On a survey.
on a survey.
To get the
We would
initiate
still-
start.
Get a survey. We still
After
have
we
the
get
right
the
to say no.
results
Right, you
back,
still
we
have-
would still have to vote whether or not it goes on the
Correct.
ballot.
Right. At least let 'em-
At least.
Right.
2/3, yeah.
Well, I even have questions about the survey. And I don't know when we'll have an opportunity to address those.
Probably hire the expert, because that's why.
But if you go to, you're asking number 1, if everybody has it, can we ask this really quick? If you go to number 1, it's I'm a resident or I'm not. I'm a business or a resident, right? So then 2 and 3. When you get to 4, it's got a considering changing the name of Flint Township. I prefer to leave the name as Flint Township or change the name or our community. What are
Supposed to
we
be
changing?
of. It's a typo.
So
And then it goes to number 4, which is, question 5, is where it really, to me, gets a little confusing. Why would you need to go beyond, if you said no, why would you continue on down the road with the survey?
Because if you believe that the majority of people are gonna want to change. What that means. As it said, they did not want to change the name.
We may be surprised and the majority comes back, don't change it.
It's just trying to give enough data as you can, and as much flexibility in mind that. If you look at the names, I think it's only.
It lists,
two of them are different.
it lists Carmen Hills in there again. That was a throwout, I thought. It lists Carmen
was
Hills in
from
there. I
the-
thought this is from,
DDA.
right.
That survey was put together before the
Before the
DDA met,
DDA's
so
names.
they would change it. This list
Accordingly.
here, are the 6 names from the DDA: Bishop, Garland, Oak Hills, Rolling Oaks, West Haven, and Westwood Valley. That was, go ahead.
I just need some clarification here because I'm getting a little confused here. Back in, I think it was January or December, you guys voted to move this whole topic to the DDA and have the DDA move forward. This is why the DDA presented or voted on the 6 names they wanted to move forward on the survey with. And that's why I didn't even put this on the agenda for this evening, because we were just giving you the information as information. If there was something you
I see.
didn't like on the names, then let us know so that we could definitely take it out. But if this board is wanting to take that back from the DDA, that's fine. But right now, as far as I know, we're supposed to be moving forward with this. So I just want some clarification if I can get that.
That
When you're
kind of
done.
happened at the DDA meeting,
Yeah,
too.
they were confused.
Got way off on whatever, and they said, if we read this, we could have eliminated an hour.
So
So
we
it's-
do
it's-
nothing tonight?
It's in their hands,
Yeah.
right? It's in their hands.
I don't remember the vote.
The vote was to send it.
Send it to the DDA.
I don't
On
know
a
that.
resolution?
No, I don't know that. Was there a vote, Tracy? We sent it to the DDA.
Yeah. I believe it was in December when he did the last.
Can
when
we,
he did
was
the
there a
last report.
resolution?
Yeah, as far as I know. Hold on, I'll look it up real quick.
Just a quick question, just looking at the names. I know Bishop's Bishop Airport. Garland, wasn't there somebody in the township named Garland?
That was the original name, wasn't it?
For a brief
Original
period.
name. Does anybody know how we came up with Oak Hills and the rest of them?
The DDA just sort of,
They voted.
I know they
From
looked
that
at,
committee that came to the meeting.
So tonight, we have to decide if we like these names?
I
or
don't
you
think
can say you
Tracy's
don't like a name,
saying
or-
that, I don't think we have to
survey, you can
decide.
add your own.
It could be we gave the.
I'd rather have Carmen Hills than Westwood Valley.
No.
I like Bishop, but.
Yeah, we assign this to the
If it
DDA.
went that way.
I like Bishop or Carmen Hills.
Not Carmen Hills. You're leaving out the Ainsworth name again, and I'm sorry.
All right, so you're looking that up, Tracy?
Yeah.
Because
You leave the Ainsworth name.
I know, but it's,
But it,
I agree, the people from Ainsworth was like, what are we, chop liver?
I'm sorry, but, you know. if
Did you go to
really-
Ainsworth?
Yeah, but I mean, you talk about the south side of the district, and they're the original side of the district. Just-
Brett, you don't have to
Didn't
stay.
didn't we, Tracy, so
I'll stick
all
around
we're
for a minute.
asking is that we just give them our, okay,
Survey.
please pursue this and let's get the survey in place.
Well, then
If the survey goes in place and we say, wait a minute, let's pull Rolling Oaks out and let's plug a different name in, we can do that with just a click of a pen. But let's let this gentleman, I think is what we're saying, let this gentleman just pursue his interest,
The survey.
the survey, and get it in place and
I
get
think
the
the biggest
function
thing
right.
you're trying to find out is, do people even want to change the name?
yeah.
Right.
That's why that's right at the beginning.
I move that we, well, we don't even have to move.
I want to change it under certain conditions.
But that'll all be later. This is just letting them survey to see if the people are even going to do it.
They would tell us
really.
either A, the majority want to, or don't.
51%, 49%.
If
Let's
the
get
majority want
question
to,
answered.
they're gonna, the preferred name will rise to the top. Then it will come to us, and we could say, we're not, if 5 of us don't vote in favor, it's not going anywhere, it dies. Is that correct? Okay.
Did you find the resolution, Tracy, where we gave the
Yeah, I'm
authority over
looking.
to the
Hold on.
DDA?
Yeah, I'm looking, hold on.
This just says that we go forward with the survey, be it on the computer or they come in and we have those something, because I really do
right.
think we need to.
With these 6 names.
With these, from the DDA. The
okay,
6 names from the DDA from June
Bishop
2nd.
Garland,
So can we
Oak Hills.
vote
Rolling
off
Oaks,
one of
West
these
Haven,
names
and
on the
West Village.
DDA?
Jerry just said, this
Yep.
gets in the hands of him so he can do his work. If those 6 names in 2 weeks, when we get together in 2 weeks and we don't like Oakland Hills or whatever, we say, no, let's put Carmen Ainsworth in there, whatever, yeah, we can still do that. We could still do that with no issue.
Change the name.
We can add,
If you look at the names, the only real difference is that Bishop is on, the DD, Carmen Hills is on.
right, all the other are still there.
The only other thing is Westwood has been the Westwood Valley instead of Hills.
Is there a reason for that one?
Westwood
They
Valley.
all- That's what they all like.
They also talked about
DDA went, yeah, I like that.
Genesee Hills, they said you already got it, Genesee Township, and you got Genesee County, and then you have, so that was like a no.
Genesee Hills Golf Course is now defunct, so you don't want to tie into that one.
Yeah.
And one of their comments was about the hills. They go, where are the hills
Where are the
around
hills
here?
in Gen-
That- yeah.
Right. And that's the same with Carmen Hills.
So,
know.
we don't have this business to bring before the board, is that what we're saying? We're
This
done,
isn't business.
am I right?
This-
All right,
this-
we got
we're
that
just-
done.
Thank you very much.
Our next meeting will be
What
June.
did we get done?
The DDA is gonna have those names go on the survey. The survey will be done, and the results will come back to this board for a vote to go on the ballot. Is that, am I right on that?
You guys have to put it on the ballot.
Right.
They're just going to get the survey out there so that we can be in a position to put it on the ballot. And after the survey.
Different name.
And we can change a name. We can change a name, but let him put his ducks
I
in
don't
a
like
row.
that name.
Yeah, let him get the survey ready to
Some of
go.
those names, it's like, no. I think you need a name that identifies the township, like Bishop, you understand Bishop Airport. Or CA Hills relate to Carmen Ainsworth or something. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so, our next meeting is June 20th, and if there's no further business and without objection, we'll be adjourned tonight.